We're going where you want to go so you can be where you need to be. It's Road Gang Radio with Lindsay Lawler and Jimmy Mack on RadioNemo.com.
Welcome back. It's Road Gang Radio. I'm Lindsay Lawler I'm not sitting in today. I'm here every day, but I'm still here. I'm still here today. That's the good news, I guess.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are. Hey, do we have our next guest on the phone?
Oh,
right?
God, she is already sounding lovely already. Good to have Stacie back.
I'm so excited to talk. You know, it's what happened. And Stacie, by the way, I have my husband sitting in here who has also worked with Dolly, so he's going to listen in to our conversation today. More on that in a second. But I love when we get a return guest, and I actually love it when I get a return guest all to myself. Jim's not here, so that means Stacie and I get to dive even deeper today, one-on-one. But, you know, every now and then we get lucky enough on the show to talk with someone who doesn't just document the world, but they help us really see it. And that is what Stacie Huckeba does so well. She's one of these rare people. She's an award-winning, internationally recognized photographer, filmmaker, writer, and speaker whose work has appeared everywhere from Rolling Stone to Marie Claire to the Wall Street Journal. She's photographed legends from Pearl Jam to Dolly Parton. And Dolly, by the way, trusts her as her ongoing in-house photographer, which tells you everything you need to know about the level of soul and integrity that she brings to her work. But what I love most about Stacie, from what I've just captured from her work, is that she doesn't just chase the perfect image. She's really chasing truth and the humanity and that moment when someone finally sees themselves. And this is what I really want to talk about today. As well as, by the way, her own personal transformation, losing 220 pounds and reshaping her inner and outer world being the most important, guys. It informs every picture she takes now and every story that she tells and every human, by the way, that she lifts up. So she's a returning guest, but today it's just the two of us and the guys that are lurking in the background, which means we get to go a little deeper, and let's get into it. We're going to get into the art of seeing, the art of being seen. This is something I could talk about for days and days. Stacie Huckeba, welcome back. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So happy to have you, and I love that you're just down. I know that you're just down the road from me over in East Nashville. We used to live over in that neck of the woods, and I love having somebody on that's just down the way. You know the ins and outs. So thanks for coming back. We're just gonna dive right in because people have heard you on the show before, so we know a little bit of the backstory.
Love you.
We love you so much. Being seen is very, very important to me. It's actually, Stacie, a trigger in my world. When I'm not seen, I lose it. Even though I realize now, in order to be seen by others, we have to see ourselves, Pollyanna and all that stuff. So, but to you, when you're looking at someone through your camera, what part of them are you truly trying to meet first? Like the person they show the world, or is it the part they're trying to hide? Are you consciously trying to pull out the hidden part of somebody?
I definitely am trying to, as fast as possible, get past the thing that they're trying to portray to the world.
Oh, get past it. Okay.
For sure. I want to break that fourth wall as quickly as possible. I mean, I think everybody has seen that. You know what I mean? Like if you're a person who consistently presents yourself to the public in whatever manner, whether you're a musician or a CEO or whatever it is, if you are a person who portrays yourself to the general public, they have seen that. They know that. And I can do that. Like I can create a nice photograph that's going to match with that. But my inherent goal is to reach something inside of them that's a little bit different, so that they have something portrayed to the world that's a little more authentic, that's a little more genuine, that's a little more intriguing to their audience.
Wow. Okay, it's fascinating, and especially because of your own transformation. So I'm so curious. We talked a little bit about this last time, but I'd like to go a little deeper on who Stacie Huckeba is as a photographer pre and post your own physical transformation. But more importantly, before we talk about that, what that did to your work, what did it do to you? Like, did your physical did your outside or your inside transformation come first?
Definitely my outside. It was the outside transformation that shaped my inside. Okay. I famously wrote a piece for the Huffington Post and for the Guardian UK about this, but like when I started losing the weight, I guess I had lost about 100 pounds at that point. So I was still in a very large physical body, but I wasn't like morbidly obese at that point. I was a little more standard size. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I noticed how differently people treated me in the just moving through the world. Like people would open doors for me, or if I dropped like an apple at the grocery store, someone would bend down to help me. And those were all things that had never really happened for me, just sort of the random kindness of strangers in that much larger body. And I was deeply affected by that, by the realization that literally nothing about me at that point had really changed except for the size of my pants. And I was still the same person with the same capabilities, the same thought processes, the same intellect, the same talent. Like all of those things were still inherently part of me. I just wore a different size pants. And I think that is what made me want to reach people in a way that I could showcase for them, no matter what, how people perceive them, showcase the beauty inside of them became really important to me, to showcase that inner light, that inner thing that intrinsically is part of them no matter what.
I want to point out something Stacie said during that, which shows you, what a huge transformation she's done from the inside. And this conversation is really important, Stacie, because the vast majority of our audience are over-the-road truck drivers who battle health conditions all the time and trying to,
Sure.
like stay healthy on the road. The options are limitless and they're sitting all the time. They spend a lot of time alone. But something you said in there was really big to me. You said, I was in a large physical body. You didn't say I was large or I was overweight or I was, because that names it, like that makes it who you are. And it wasn't who you were, it was just part of your physical output. And so I love you said, I was in a large physical body, because there's a person, there's a soul inside whatever the meat suit is. And so I love
that's what I was going to say. This is just a meat suit that gets us from point A to point B. Like it's just a physical incarnation of what carries who we truly are with us.
I
think that's one of the reasons that like people say the eyes are the window to the soul, and that's so incredibly true, because nothing else really matters. It's what's on the inside that counts, and so it's really important to me in my work to reach that inside of that person, and that's why, especially for artists and performers and that kind of thing, to break through that fourth wall is so important to me, because I think people spend so much time curating this very specific physical exterior, and that's not really who they are, and that's not where the strength of their writing comes from. That's not where the strength of their performing comes from. That's not where the strength of their storytelling comes from. That's not where their heart is. That's not where their empathy is. That's not where any of it lives, is in that curated thing on the outside. And
it's really, I mean, I know as I'm a performer myself, and whenever I get in with a photographer, I'm always I could be on stage for tons of people and not be nervous. It's when I'm one-on-one with the photographer, because that's the time. It's not even about the photographer. It's the time about us, to that person on the other side of the camera, to be like, oh crap, I am completely exposed right now. And I have to, like, there's no band behind me. There's nobody clapping in the audience. Nobody cares right now. And so finding somebody who can make you feel comfortable is wildly important. So outside of your work, obviously you're able to do that. So many, hugely respected icons in the world trust you. But outside of your work piece of it, is that something you do with family and friends? Do people say, oh, you just make me feel seen? Is that something you carry into the world, or do you have to turn that off so you won't energetically die? And even when I do photo shoots with people, like people are like, oh, I'm going to be nervous. Like they'll tell me that, like I'm nervous or whatever. I'm like, dude, please do not be nervous. Like we're just going to hang out. Like we're going to hang out. We're going to have fun. I'm just going to have a camera on me. But like my photo shoots are kind of geared that way. Like I just lost one of my dear, dear friends, Todd Snyder. And I'm one of the only people he really allowed to be a photographer for a long time. And so I've had this conversation with a few people recently about that. And it was because we never did a photo shoot. Like we just hung out. There were a couple of times where, speaking of breaking through that fourth wall, I did 3 or 4 different photo shoots with him where he loved the pictures. He was really happy with them. And then he would email me like the next day or a day or so later and be like, we've got to come reshoot it. And I'd be like, what's the problem? And he always came up with some sort of ridiculous idea. And then one day I pinned him down and I'm like, what is the deal with these reshoots? Like, do you not like the pictures? Like, what am I doing that's buggy? Because I always want to get to that too. Like, I don't want to waste people's time. Like even though we were friends and I loved hanging out with him, I would have done a shoot with him every day, but I wanted to know what it was. And it wasn't that I was missing anything. I broke that fourth wall so hard. He was like,
those are pictures of your friend Todd. Those are not pictures of the guy that gets on stage and sings folk songs. Like that's not that guy. That's a different guy. And so we had to work through that a couple of times. But yeah, I feel that I am that way with people. Like, I am that person that people come to. Like, I used to be, especially when I lived in really East Nashville proper, I used to be really famous for my deck hangs. Like, people would, if there were Christmas lights on the deck, it was open and people could come by. And I was really centrally located up in East. So people would stop by on their way to, on their way home from. Like, that deck was just always open with people hanging out and talking. And it was sort of it was an unspoken, nobody brought, it wasn't like a deck hang, like people brought guitars and sing-alongs or any of that. Like, it was just a place for, like, really open flow of conversation. Like, people just always feel comfortable around me. And I think it's because I really don't, I'm not one of those people like at an event or something. I'm not shaking your hand and saying hi, but looking over your shoulder to see who else is walking in the room. Like, I'm really interested in seeing and hearing and talking to the person in front of me, and not that it's the same thing, whether it's in person or whether I'm behind the camera. It is the exact same thing. Like, I don't have any interest in whatever that thing is that you're portraying to the rest of the world. I want to know who you are, because, and it kind of goes back to the person that I was in that larger body. Like, I feel like what the realization was is I realized that no one saw me. And so it became very important for me to see other people. Regardless, it doesn't have to be what the world would perceive as a negative thing. Like, when I was in that larger body, I can be talking when I'm shooting Dolly Parton. Like, her manager was so stunned the first time that I got on set with her. Like, I'd shot her live, but the first time I had a photo shoot with her was for her Holly Dolly Christmas record and a bunch of other promotional stuff. And he was like, now she's only got 3 poses, so don't waste your time. And I was like, that sounds crazy.
You're like, hold my beer,
Dolly
move.
Parton. She's got more than 3 poses. What are you talking about? And I had been around her, and I'd been around her family or whatever. This was the first time in a photo shoot. But, like, I don't want to say I wasn't starstruck, because I was. Like, that morning I was sick to my stomach all morning long. Like, I was nervous as a cat. But when I got on set with her, like, we started singing and dancing, and like, she came out in this red dress, and one of my favorite movies is Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and I was like, girl, you are giving Miss Mona, and I just started singing, it's just a itty bitty pissy, and she started singing with me, and we started dancing and singing and cutting up, and because I knew some of her family, and some of them were there, like, I was sort of cracking jokes at some of her friends and family, like, immediately, even with her, broke through that fourth wall. And when we looked back at the pictures, like, the same guy who had been like, she's only got 3 poses, was like, oh my God. And that's how I really became one of her more favored photographers. I mean, she moved on to other people because I was busy working on her book and lost her for a year. And now she's off working with other people. But at the time, I became like, I was the person she requested. And it's because I didn't get on with her and be like, oh, and like, like, I see her as a person. She has her own, which I won't name here, but she has her own insecurities about how things on her body, and like, sure, everybody's got that stuff, and it's like looking through it to the person at the core. She said something to me really profound on one of our shoots, and I hope if she hears this, I hope she doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but like, at one point I was sort of directing her, and I was like, now relax your shoulders a little bit, whatever. And she goes, oh, you don't have to tell me about these shoulders. I carry so much weight on these shoulders. And I was like, oh, I bet you do. I said it offhandedly. And then she hit me with this. She was like, being Dolly Parton is the easy part. Being the Dolly Parton everybody expects you to be, that's the hard part.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, damn. You know what I mean? Like,
Talk
she
about
has
that
to walk
weight
around and carry that perception everywhere she goes. And it was like an honor of a lifetime to be in a moment with her where she felt comfortable enough to drop that for a moment with me on set.
Wow, that's so big, because you think about, I said the other day, Stacie, one of my girlfriends said to me at one point, she goes, you're always so strong, I always appreciate how strong you are. I'd be full fetal in this. And for a lot of years, I took that as like a badge of honor. I'm like, yeah, I can handle anything. And then I realized, oh my God, no, like, that's not, it's one thing to handle anything, but to live up to like this perfect or not perfect, but this like, I'm always okay. I never break down, whatever. And so for Dolly Parton, think about that. It's everyone says, Dolly for president. Dolly's the angel of the world, and she is. But think about that. Never stopped and thought about the pressure of that.
She hears that and she knows it, and the weight that she has to carry of that, of always being Dolly Parton. Like, can you imagine?
No.
Like, to me, I was like, oh my God, can you imagine being Dolly Parton and having to be that Dolly Parton? Like, it would be so hard because, going back to what you said about yourself of being strong, like, to me, real strength lies in the vulnerability of being human. Like, real strength lies in failing and getting up again. Real strength lies in falling apart and putting yourself back together. Like, that's where real strength lies. It's not always being pristine and perfect. And so the weight of trying to always be that, it would be so incredibly hard.
Oof. It would be a lot. And it makes me want, if you don't mind, I would love for you, because I do a segment on here called Country and Western Music News. And Stacie, I know you'll appreciate this. I make sure, especially being a Nashville writer, I don't do anything salacious. I'm not talking about gossip. I'm finding human interest stories, positive spins to it's very important to me to never, outside of, there's one guy that I like to riff on, but that's sort of our joke. Other than that, we stay real positive. And so I was, I was obviously very invested in the Todd Snyder story recently. And if you wouldn't mind, just a quick sidestep, because I want our listeners to know what an incredible human Todd was. I did not personally know him well, but I knew his music, and I have worked with a lot of people who work with him and speak nothing but lovely things. And since you were close with him, could you just tell our audience, because I'd love people posthumously to go back and consume his work and hear the heart and soul of who he was as a human and a writer.
It's still really hard for me to talk about Todd.
Sure.
And we had been friends since before he ever got his first record deal. He lived upstairs from a guitar player for a band that I used to hang out with in Memphis. And so he was like a brother to me. And honestly, I hate that I have to say, well, it's not true because I said it to his face many times, but like a whole lot of my career I owe to him. Like, it was his idea for me to come. There's never been somebody that I've witnessed in my life that was more of a champion for people. Like, he had a reputation for being ornery, and he had a reputation for being naughty, and people have all these salacious things that they love to say about him. And honestly, so much of that was fourth wall. Like, he curated these stories about himself because he got a kick out of it. He, famously among friends and stuff, he sort of loved if there were a lot, especially like lies in the press, like he loved it. Like, he fed off of it. Like, there was a story about him and Elizabeth Cook and them at when they did that not come to East Nashville, but the East Nashville Tonight movie premiere. And somebody started this rumor that they like destroyed the green room at the Belcourt and like stole all the snacks from the thing, and like none of it was true. But oh my God, he loved that story, and he pushed that as far as it could go. Like, he sort of loved that people would tell these stories about himself. But privately, he really was truly one of the kindest cheerleaders I've ever known. And he was that way with so many people. One of my favorite things that I've loved on social media reading is like people keep publishing these emails that he sent to like musicians, songwriters that I've never heard of, people that don't even have careers. But he would get their records and then would reach out to them and send them emails about how much he loved their record.
Wow.
And like, or would take, like Alan Thompson famously came out and did a post where he was talking about how Todd, when nobody else in Nashville would even take him seriously, Todd took him out on the road as an opening act. And like, he just was a cheerleader for art and for artists. And like, it was last year, I think my dog had cancer. It was supposed to only live 4 months with it, but wound up living almost a year with it. And the medical bills were astronomical. To the point that I took a part-time job at the mall at the Banana Republic folding pants because at least that job covered the medical bills.
Wow.
Because I was getting way into debt, like $30,000 in debt.
Whoa.
And we used to watch football together. And he would email me and be like, come tighten up. And that just meant come watch the Titan game. And I kept emailing him, I can't. I'm at the I'm working at the Banana Republic. I can't. I'm at the Banana Republic. And then anyway, one day I did wind up going out there, and when I walked up, he was, you might have to beep this, but he was like, "You look like shit." And I was like, don't say that to me. Like, you look like this all the time, and I never say it to your face. He was like, you just, and again, that's breaking through that fourth wall. Like, he saw the inside of me even walking up, knowing that I was whooped. And he was like, no, seriously, what's going on? And I was like, man, it's just been tough, working at the Banana Republic. He was like, it's so funny when you say that. And I was like, what is funny about that? And it didn't dawn on me, like, Todd doesn't go to the mall. He didn't know what the Banana Republic is. He thought that I was making a funny joke about, like, the state of, like, I was out working in the Banana Republic that is the world right now.
Oh, he like genuinely didn't know that you were being serious.
Correct. And I was like, no, I'm folding chinos at the Banana Republic. And he was like, oh my God, no, you're an artist and a filmmaker and a director. Like, this cannot be happening. And he immediately got on the phone and started making phone calls and like all this. And by 9:00 at night, he had me lined up all of these different little side gigs and jobs. He was like, you have to quit, like right now, like here, wow. Call them right now and quit. Like at his house, he had me call and quit that job. He was like, you're an artist. You cannot be folding pants at the mall. Like, wow. He was such a proponent of artists and of art and of people living an authentic life, true to their free spirit on the inside and not being tied to chains. I mean, that's just who he was as a person. He was a champion and a cheerleader and kind and funny. And I'm still trying to figure out how to live without his daily emails. It's hard. I love him deeply.
I mean, it's so incredible to hear you say those stories, and because, again, everyone wants to be seen in the world, and especially for the fact that he saw other artists, because I do have some friends as well who, like, somebody who he produced, and she's like, I had nothing going on, and for whatever reason, he took me under his wing, and he did that for so many people. And we can parlay this just to anybody, to whether it be your clients or somebody listening out there driving a truck. You say you want your clients to walk away seeing themselves in a way they never have before. So what do you think, Stacie, you're an expert in the subject matter at this point, what do you think keeps most people, and I'm not talking about artists here, I'm talking about just the human nature, what do you think keeps most people from seeing their own power?
Oh, I think that it's the fear of being judged. I mean, I do a lot of social media, like I'm very active on TikTok, and I mean, people always come to me like, oh, I can't do it. And I'm like, or I don't get any traction. And I think that this relates to just real life. It's because you're unwilling to like show your vulnerability. Again, it goes back to that real strength is in vulnerability. Like, people are so attuned to seeing through your bullshit, and you don't realize it. Like, you think you're putting on a good show for people, but they know, like they can tell. And I think it's the fear of being judged or perceived. Like, some people just have a hard time even being perceived. Like, they don't want to be perceived. Like, they want to stay hidden. They want to stay in the shadows. And I think that is the thing that keeps people from living their real authentic life or being their real authentic selves, is a fear of being perceived and or of being judged by other people. Human nature is, even little kids, like it can trace all the way back to like childhood. Like if you were picked on in school, or you were bullied by a teacher, or you didn't have a great home life, or you had a step parent that was mean to you. Like, there's so many things that form us and shape us when we're little that are so hard as adults to get past. But I implore people always to be authentic. Like, it can start, like when I tell people on TikTok, like, start making your favorite spaghetti meal. Like, because once you get in the ring of it, you're just going to be making spaghetti. Like, you're not going to be aware of the camera on you. Like, it starts with small things. Like, but you have to learn to live authentically and to be perceived and to get past that fear of judgment. And like, because it doesn't matter. Like, who cares? I love this quote of like, there's 7 billion people on earth. If 5 of them don't like you, who cares? Like, but be your authentic self.
Yeah. I realized at one point, I remember saying one day in the studio, I was like, I just hope everyone here likes me. Literally, my producer looked at me and he's like, are you insane? And it changed everything for me. I'm like, oh, that idea, if everyone likes you, you're doing it wrong. That finally landed for me at 46 years old. I'm like, yep. Oh crap, that's what I've been doing wrong. I'm trying to impress and please everyone but myself. What the heck?
Yep. When I wrote that article for The Guardian I was talking about earlier, I got a ton of flack for it, because in the article I talk about a moment where I really wasn't kind to somebody. Like, they opened a door for me and I started screaming at them. They didn't know I was screaming at them. I just was like, I snapped and was like, you wouldn't have opened that door for me when I was 200 pounds or whatever. And the point of the article was that I was in the wrong, but it was also the point of that recognition of what had been happening to me my whole life and what was happening in that moment. And I got a ton of flack to the point where the Guardian had to shut down the comments. And my friend Tommy Womack sent me an email and was like, girl, just know this. If you're not getting flack, you're not over the target. Like, and it's true. If you are pleasing everybody, you're definitely not pleasing yourself. Like, if you're pleasing everybody and if everybody likes you, you're not being authentic and you're doing something wrong. And you should push people out of their comfort zone. You should push people out of their, to be angry. You should, I mean, I think that as humans, the way to help other people grow is by those moments of discomfort, those moments of anger, because anger is at the root fear. And so if you're not pushing people into other emotions, you're not doing anything to drive a conversation in any way. You're just keeping everything status quo. So I feel like you should always be pushing some kind of boundary. You should be evoking. That's why writers, authors, painters, dancers, they evoke some kind of emotion in you. And that is what people resonate with when it comes to music or film or books or any of it, is having those emotions pushed inside of them. And so I think that that's part of our job as humans here on this planet, is to push the boundaries a little bit, to further the conversation, to expand consciousness.
Expand
and if
consciousness.
You're just status quo, you're definitely not doing that.
Thank you for using that term. Actually, we have an artist coming up next on the show, and that's his whole deal. He's writing in frequencies and talking about expanding consciousness. So that was a perfect lead in. Thank you. So we're almost, unfortunately, out of time with you, because I could listen to you talk my whole life. Quick little lightning round for you here. Lightning round. So what's the photo you wish you could take but you haven't yet? Who or what is that?
Oh, well, I just got, I got to work this year. I got to work on, I think we talked about this little time last time, but I got to work on Michelle Obama's new book about her style evolution, and I got to go into her archives and photograph some of her clothes. But oh my God, working with somebody like Michelle or Barack Obama, like working with world leaders. I would love to work with world leaders. Like, talk about people that have curated. Can I break through a fourth wall of somebody in a position like that? Like, I've worked with Dolly Parton and that kind of thing. But the idea of not working with their garments or their clothes, or like, I've worked with a lot of icons in that way. And in the music industry, I've worked with a lot of icons and trying to get through that fourth wall. But somebody on a stage like that, like a world leader, really of any kind, of seeing what I could pull out of somebody like that, I think would be really fun.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, and then what is the quickest? Oh, I look forward to seeing what world leader that is, because that's how you, to be, in all seriousness, how you, Stacie, do your part in changing the world by bringing out the positive things in our world leaders. So good on you.
Well, and talk about people that change the collective consciousness. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Exactly. Okay, then finally, what's the quickest way someone can ruin whether it's your subject matter or you, I guess, the quickest way to ruin a photo session? Or can you always save it? Maybe Stacie Huckeba can always save it. I believe if anyone can, it's you. But if someone was going to ruin it, what would that be, besides being a complete ass?
It's the same thing that we're talking about, being unwilling to break through that fourth wall. I mean, go to JCPenney and just get a portrait. You know what I mean? Like, if you're coming to a real photographer to get a piece of art, you've got to be willing to be vulnerable and break it down. And I have had shoots like that where I just couldn't get through, and ultimately the client didn't like their pictures, and it's because they are unwilling to let that come through.
Love it. And what's the biggest myth about photographers that you'd love to erase forever? That
it's the camera. That's a nice camera. Those pictures are so good. What kind of camera did you use?
Got it.
Because I could use my iPhone and still get great pictures. It's about the lighting and the composition and that relationship that you have with the subject on the other side of the camera. I think that photographers sometimes are perceived to be good if they've got a lot of equipment or they've got a lot of gear, and that is the complete polar opposite of what makes a good photographer.
We've been talking to Stacie Huckeba, who's an internationally recognized photographer, writer, speaker, human soul, good person. Stacie, I love talking to you. Please come back more often, and thank you for all you
make
do.
Make me a regular guest. I love talking to you guys. It's fun.
Yay! Stacie Huckeba doing her part. Head over to Stacie Huckeba, HUCKEBA.com. She can help you feel seen, and that's what it's all about here in this world. Talk to you soon, Stacie.